So I'll start an introduction here. What we're doing is talking about SWEP, which is something that's new to you. And what happened is about 11 years ago, actually a federal program started, which was a stormwater management program. It's a little more complicated than that. And pretty much nobody paid attention to it, including us. But a couple of years ago, we started bugging the city about what was about the water quality, and we bumped into SWEP about the same time that we got a whole new staff at the city. We have a new engineer, people moved up, we got a new city administrator, and this program is just right in front of us, and nobody has done anything about it. So we're pushing, at the same time, these guys are getting ready. That's what's happening. So it was a pretty cool catalyzing process. And as I mentioned, it's fairly comprehensive, what's going on. Matt's going to talk about some parts of it. It's all about education, really. The city will be doing some water abatement programs that's ongoing. And we need to continue to communicate with our city staff. We have at least one council member here, maybe more. So we need to continue to communicate. As a matter of fact, communicate much more and in a friendly way, because it's our city together. And quite frankly, the city could not do all the work that needs to be done without our involvement. That's always the way it's been, and it's actually getting that way even a little bit more, because funding for small cities is always hard to come by. And when we think about the city of Fergus Falls and all the evolution that's happened here, it happened because of lots of civic involvement. That was the way it was not too many years ago. And we still have the same infrastructure, and we don't have as many people involved. And everybody expects the city staff to do it. Okay, there you go, Matt.
All right. Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Matt Harrington. I work for the city of Fergus Falls in the engineering department. I deal with stormwater for the engineering department. I've been to a few of these Lake Alice group meetings. It's been kind of mixed, the involvement from the locals here. Some nights we'll have quite a few people, other nights maybe not so much. I can't stress enough the importance of public participation in this program and communication. The city has a MS4 program, which is it's a federally mandated MPCA guided program. SWIP, it stands for Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. And basically with our MS4 we have 6 MCMs, which is our minimum control measures. And typically a lot of this, especially the first two, have to do with a lot of partnership between the city and community members. MCM1 is public education and outreach. MCM2 is public participation and involvement. MCM3 is illicit discharge detection and elimination. 4, construction site storm runoff control, and post-construction stormwater management. So a lot of this can get to be pretty in-depth. I tried to highlight the things that would be probably most important to people in the Lake Alice watershed. So MCM1, we got public education and outreach. When I was coming up with some of this stuff, we wanted to have some things that were attainable, was a measurable goal, and give some time frames so that everybody had a better peace of mind. One thing that we've kind of come up with that's kind of interesting is a storm drain marking program. And talking to Kristen Toole, it looked like, or it sounds like, maybe the ALC would be interested, along with an aerosol artist, to participate in some of the catch basins surrounding the Lake Alice area. What the city would do was provide, in this case, the Lake Alice group, but it could be any watershed in the city, with supplies, a storm sewer map with catch basin locations, and the city staff also promoting it with our website and brochures. And then every year we would try to get a number of stormwater drains that had been stenciled.
Matt, how many are there that are publicly visible? Have you got a count yet? It's a lot.
No, I don't have.
It's an ongoing project.
I could get a pretty good average here if I spend a little time on it.
Yeah.
Hundreds.
Yeah, hundreds. I've also talked to Karen, who's with the Mayor's Natural Resource Advisory Committee, and talked to her about maybe doing some local activities with the schools, with an Otter Tail, basically an Otter Tail River education that she could do they could come up with a couple times a year and distribute educational material and such.
I'm going to talk a little bit about that marking program, if you wouldn't
Yep.
mind. Also, Aaron McCune, who we know as our chalk artist in town for the last couple of years, is interested in getting involved. And there's a program called Year of Play that Jake Crone is doing. And so I've introduced that to him, and so we've got a little bit more talent potentially.
Sure.
And he has a small grant that he got, so some people that need to get funded could. And this is an opportunity to take our positive response and put us on the front page of the Star Tribune or someplace by doing this original. I think this is a great idea, and it helps. Everybody's going to say, what's that goofy thing in your neighborhood? And that's the best education. And just again, this will be solved when everybody in town knows what to do, which is fairly simple.
Yeah, I think if you get the younger generation involved as early as you can, it's just going to be a whole lot better for everybody. You know, whether you're walking around Lake Alice with your kids or your grandkids, and you actually see something artful and creative, you know, that they're going to stop by, look at, and
Reinforce their opinion. I thought you were going to talk about a pile of dog poop. I'm saying you're right. That would get the people excited about that in another way.
Right.
Yeah.
So to hit more on the storm drain markings, and a lot of this other stuff, I got drafts for you all if you want to look at that a little bit more closely. Just due to time constraints, I want to kind of highlight what's going to concern the Lake Alice area the most here. So, typically in a lot of other communities, they basically come up with a stencil of some sort to either paint on the face of the curb. A lot of them will do it right in the flow line. For us, probably the best idea would be on the face of the curb, including the watershed to Lake Alice. I just had this stencil made up, but also it would be another opportunity for our school system that I just found out today because of the communication with Karen that they have a plasma cutter at the school, so they could probably come up with the design too for our stencils. So basically our main message is no dumping to the drains, river decals, and I'm also in the GIS part of the city as well. We can provide all the maps that you would need with catch basin locations and continuously update as people go out and stencil. We can have a folder, and if a group wants to go out and do 10 to 15 catch basins stenciled on a Sunday afternoon, maybe after church, if you'd like, it's something that you could do.
So there's two projects. One is the public ones, more accessible, and then there's all of them with the stencil.
Right, right, yep. So, and the city would provide it would basically be a stencil kit.
You know, as hard as it is to understand, I think people we have to just reverse the thinking. I think people think they should dump their junk in the drain.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I really think that they think, well, what's that for?
Or they think it's gonna be treated.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's a total turnaround. That I mean, I've talked to people in the last couple of months, and they just don't understand, well, what would be the harm in putting grass there. Grass is organic, you know. I mean, I think that we've reached the age of awareness where we're aware of stuff that is fake news. So I
Right.
think we have to turn it around. And I
Right.
don't think they do it deliberately. I think they do it because they see a drain.
Right.
So.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
but along that line, and people don't think about what's going now. Somebody asked a couple meetings back about the car wash up
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Sure.
Unbelievably complex system to keep everything that's yucky out of the water and into the wastewater management system.
Right.
Everything that's being built is like that now.
Right.
So just what Karen's saying, from the standpoint of the industry and what the city, what's going forward is done correctly. There's just this massive amount of incorrectly done stuff.
Right. And there's a lot more rules and regulations, you know, that's why we're here today, you know, set forth by the MPCA.
Well, I think too, the other thing, people think that as soon as you start to employ some of these tactics, that immediately our taxes are going to go up. And I think as participating, that's a goal that we can stop some of that.
Right.
And I think that public participation, we've got a lot of people that will put their hands on a project, they just don't know what
Right.
to
I
do.
mean, you're basically you're talking sweat equity
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
There's not much into a stencil,
No,
and there's not much into a spray paint.
no.
If I can add to that, Matt, too, you're exactly right, but as far as everybody sees on their bill a storm sewer fee,
Yeah,
people equate that, and I see it commonly, to curb and gutter adjacent to your house.
yeah.
However, that is not the impetus and design of that
Right.
fee. The number one is to help maintenance our existing system and assist with the implementation of a mandated program such as this. The city being a population of over 10,000 people, we are mandated by federal, the PDS permit, the state to do it. And more so reason why the city council at the time enacted that type of fee to help
Well,
with
and I
these
think that,
costs.
you know, if we are able to put a flyer out in the bill, you know.
That's
that-
happening.
Yep.
That could be something too, if we could have, you know, a line that just addresses that, the tax base is already established. It's nothing that we're doing that will change that. The thing we can do is participate.
Participation,
As citizens.
exactly.
Well, in fact, we're saving tax money because we're not gonna get fined, because we're doing it right.
Right.
So we're saving money by doing this.
Right.
And also, we're putting ourselves in higher esteem in our larger state. That's an important thing.
Yep. So I'll just hit back with the Mayor's Natural Resource Advisory Committee. I talked to Karen about it. We're looking at, you know, and this is just a draft, but 2 educational events related to water conservation a year, we'll say. And, you know, we'll keep track of the number of participants in our annual report. We need to have, you know, newsletters that we've sent out, brochures, classes, and the number of people attending. We have to have all these numbers to report and to let the MPCA know that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. I don't know how much you want me to go into all this
Well,
stuff here.
just, if you got more highlights?
Let's see.
I think that what's important and what Matt's showing us is the complexity of it, and actually while he's looking, it is absolutely necessary to look at this from the standpoint of the city, from an engineering point of view, like you talked about keeping track of all of those things. That's a part of it, and as citizens, we gloss over the importance of that. We just think that it's immaterial. You just told us the reason that it is. You've got a program. This is compliance, because they're not going to be sending anybody here to watch us.
Right.
So it's a way to understand compliance, which is necessary, even though it may appear from a citizen as make work. And just a little teeny bit of thing, and this is a big thing, we've got Rod Speedall here that could talk, and I don't want him to about this because it's a long and important thing when, there you have it. When our city engineer talked about this fund, our city collects funds all the time in order to pay for large projects that we cannot afford on a, just writing a check for it. And that's what he was referring to, and when you look at our budget, you can learn a lot about our city by looking at the various funds that we collect and why we collect them and the importance of them, instead of being uninformed about them and making uninformed statements. Because it's very important, that little piece we're talking about, collecting money for a great big project, little bit at a time. Right, is that accurate? Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I'm not going to get into a lot of the other policies that we have for the city at the whole. I will just hit on a few things that we've accomplished since we've been kind of getting more involved with this. The city, Public Works, Park and Rec, the police department, we've given basically all city staff education on stormwater, what to look for as far as illicit discharges. I can't be everywhere, Mark Jorgensen can't be everywhere. We need to have the, the citizens, if they see something, just give us a call, we'll take a look, and we try to work with everybody. Like Bert had alluded to earlier, it is all about, public outreach and public and the city coming together and working together, and we can easily hit some of these goals that we've.
And Matt, if you want to mention the anonymous too, for reporter.
Yes. If you need to make a report, it's completely anonymous. Your name won't be given out.
I don't know how many people have looked at that education piece, but that, I watched it, it was really good, and I thought it was nicely done, it was at a level that I think everyone can understand, and we just made some really good points. I just thought it was paced really well, sometimes I've gotten to lots of education pieces and it gets really long and boring, and he kept it up and gave good, have you guys watched any of the education that they did for the city?
What Karen's talking about is on our Facebook page. It's also on YouTube. Anybody in the world can see it. And it's a city that's been proactive down south here, Mankato.
Mankato or Wilmer.
Right, and they came and
Yeah.
the education process, Matt just talked about that. We all need to be educated. And step one was city staff. Step two is the people that are going to be watching this video and talking around the neighborhood. And this idea about anonymous, we're not squealing on people.
Right.
This is taking care of the water that our children and grandchildren need. And once we start doing it, we'll get used to it, and it is not going to be a burden. It's just that we haven't paid attention to it for a long time, like forever, basically.
Well, that's basically all I have for tonight. I know.
Well, here's my question, and maybe Karen wants to step in. When we start doing this, when will we see our water be clear? It's a multi-year process. That's the answer to the question.
Right.
And we need to stop putting stuff in.
It's not going to get fixed overnight, but
And everybody needs to be involved.
Yeah,
Right.
everybody needs to do their part.
And if you find someone that says, I'm not going to do that, the first goal is that we all understand what we need to do, how we need to respond. Whether we say we're going to or not, that's the second story. The first thing is that, for instance, in our little mini watershed here, there are 350 households. There are about 1,000 people. That's a fairly substantial commitment to get 1,000 people to understand something. And then we got 14 times that in the city.
Right.
So that's the work ahead of us.
Right. And we got plenty of watersheds.
And plenty of watersheds, yes.
And rivers, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's.
Probably they didn't see me there. I'm sorry, folks. I'll you that one. And any questions in the audience, please?
I apologize, maybe you covered this and I missed the very opening, but
Sure.
just a couple of things that I see on here that I don't know what they mean. What does MCM stand for, and what does BMP stand for?
Yep, so MCM is it's a minimum control measure.
Controlment? That's quite an entertaining word.
Control measure, minimum control measure.
Control measure, oh, okay.
Yep.
Control measure, all right. And then BMP, what's that stand for?
Best management practices.
Okay. That's,
So if you know, you would commonly hear, well, I don't know if you commonly hear it, but for people who are trained in stormwater, that's the term we would use. But if you were a contractor, you would say, an example of a BMP would be silt fence, a bile roll.
I think I understand it, I just didn't know what the abbreviations were.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
BMPs include things like education too. So there's some structural things and some, social or.
I'm thinking
or
that's a
visual
fairly
things.
broad engineering term, best management practice.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
And this, again, just keeping in mind that engineering is the engine that runs this nationally. That's what's happening. And so all these engineering terms become, it's their game. So you use your terms, and they work.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and if you have any questions, you can just give me a call. I got my contact information on the last page along with city engineer Brian Navarro. That's all I got for tonight. Or, Wally?
Yeah, how many other watershed management areas are there in the city that you are working with? This is apparently the biggest.
That we're actually working with as far as this goes. You guys, Lake Alice would be the pilot program essentially right now.
I like to call this the diamond.
Okay, the diamond.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how many other pearls are there then?
Are there about 6, 7?
Well, you know, Grotto, Adams Park would be one. St. Charles is another one. Ultimately, our river through town is a watershed, and that's why I kind of touched on with Karen, the Natural Resource Committee that she's involved with, along with the University of Minnesota, that you know, teaching our young people and the schools, spending a couple days a year taking kids down to the river, maybe explaining to them that whatever they put in up in the watershed is going to end up here. So if they like to fish or swim, they got to realize that the end game is the river.
Well, right along that, and we have an excellent program that just has gone over our head several times, and it's the Prairie Wetlands Learning Center. And it's just an absolute natural, so we'll make this public too, but I've started the conversation there. Again, if our children are informed about what to do and not to do, they do two things. They themselves don't do the error, and they correct their adults.
Right.
So that's another excellent opportunity for getting this out and about.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions? Because I'm going to do my own little piece here. I'm going to plead for what you need to be pleading for, and that is help. So I'll just be here, so my face is here. So I've done this for a couple of years now, this Lake Alice neighborhood, and we've actually accomplished a great deal, none the least of which is that we've built a really nice beginning relationship with the city. Well, on many levels, that's none the least at all. We have a much better relationship with the police department when we have events. I really like the signage stuff that's happening. We have done some social things that are really acceptable and exciting. And I'm worn out, and I need help. And I've talked to a couple of people here, and it's the same thing that the city is talking about. I imagine this church in 1964, for instance. Tonight, our church is quite busy. There's lots of things going on here. In 1964, 7 days a week it was like that. Most of that stuff was not church things. Most of it was civic responsibility things. It was scouting, it was people meeting to do things. It was probably a meeting about the Lake Alice as well and things going on there. And if we want the city to be like, and I've heard so many stories around Lake Alice here about, gee, we run it the way it was before. If we want our city to be the way it was before, then we need more people involved. That's the short and long of it. I mean, we've got a city staff that, I mean, I don't know what it is, let's see, just in round numbers, I think every city staff is responsible for about 500 citizens, just in real quick math. And that's really difficult. Try to know 500 friends. But our involvement, I just want to say this, I don't know how to say it any more ways. You go talk with these guys, they'll talk with you. You argue and fight with them, you call them names, you say things that are incorrect, they will not work with you. It's human. It's just the way it is. And because there's such limited time, they respond to the people that work with them. The whole city staff does that. And that's our invitation to work with them, and they'll work with us. And it's a big project. And again, it's for children and grandchildren, this water. And I need help. I'm looking for help. My health is failing. You think I'm healthy and happy? Well, I'm happy, but I'm not healthy. I'm struggling with my health, and I got a couple of people sort of helping. This is going to go out to other people, our other neighborhoods. We need lots of involvement, and it will not take as much time as you think. You're spending more time worrying about it's going to take too much time to be involved than it will to be involved. Thank you very much. And thanks for coming, everybody. Brian, anything to say?
I'm just available for any questions. You're very active.
And these questions, because most people are going to be seeing this online, these people can be called. They're busy. They won't answer you back immediately, but they call you back. And what you have to share with them makes their jobs work better. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And squealing is not squealing. Squealing is taking care of our water. And squealing can be your neighbor. Don't be mean with them. It could be talking to somebody about it. It could be talking about a contractor. It could be talking about a city employee that's not following the rules. Those are all legitimate, and it's not a matter of shaming or blaming. It's a matter of making it work right. See, I have a lot of things to say. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming, those of you that have. Rod, anything to say? Thank you for coming.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, yeah. Nice to see you. See you later. Are you,